is cold. It's a cold morning up here on Mauna Kea. Good morning, everybody. It's me, Spencer Lee, back with another video. It's our final day here on the Big Island. In fact, I fly out in approximately 10 hours. But it's about 2:30 in the morning, you know, typical crackhead o'clock. And we are at the Visitor Center of Mauna Kea doing our 30 minutes, probably longer than 30 minutes of altitude acclimation before we head up to the summit. There was that big winter storm that rolled in, and we have snow at the summit of Mauna Kea, and it's the start of Milky Way season, which means there's potential to see if we can get a shot at Lake Waiau. Hopefully there isn't too much snow that it covers the lake entirely, but we'll go up there and we'll check it out this morning. If we drive up, we should be able to get there around 3:30, give us half an hour to hike down to the lake. Kind of nervous, but I think it's just excitement. It's got to be just excitement, I think. All right, we'll see you guys up there. Ninja get up happening right now, but one of the most important pieces of equipment for us here today, these are crampons or spikes. Haven't used these in a while, but if there's going to be snow where we're at, it's going to come in clutch. Appropriate glove wear on. It's actually a very nice morning up here. I don't feel a whole lot of wind, so hopefully it stays that way. Look at this, guys. What a view. My shutter speed is going to be totally off, but look at that. Beautiful. But like the idiot that I am, I came down this side of the hill. I got to put pointers on the screen, but I came down that side of the hill, walked all the way around the lake, crossed that little river, and now we're on the other side. I'm just catching my breath a little bit before we continue, but yeah, that's the Milky Way core right there. Just got to get into the right position to take this shot. Yeah, can you believe it? Can you believe we're here up in Lake Waiau shooting the Milky Way? Oh my God, this is just like a dream, an absolute dream come true. Yeah, my feet are a little cold. I kind of wish I doubled up on socks, but aside from that, I feel pretty good. Can't believe we're gonna get this shot. Just can't believe it. And I also can't believe that it's relatively calm. Like, I have another jacket that I could put on, but this morning it's so calm up here that I don't feel like I need it, so I can just hang out. I don't even need to wear my hood on. It's not that cold, which is absolutely crazy to me. That we're at the summit and we're getting very little wind, slight breeze, but very little. And we're getting snow, we're getting Milky Way. Yeah, a lot of conditions had to come together in order for me to get this shot. So yeah, in this video I want to talk about all the factors that magically came together to create this beautiful scene in front of us, and how I made sure that I was here at the right place at the right time to be able to get this shot.
shot Milky Way here at Lake Waiau, but the last time we shot it, it was during July or August, I believe, and the Milky Way was really super high up in the sky. So I didn't really like the Milky Way position. I also didn't like the composition that I had at that time. So I came back today in February, early 2025, early Milky Way season, to make sure I get the Milky Way core nice and low on the horizon. And of course, it's the added benefit that we also get a snow-covered landscape at the same time. It just makes for a shot that just looks absolutely incredible. But this is Lake Waiau. It's a mysterious lake at the top of the summit here on Mauna Kea. Scientifically, it's still unknown, like the definitive reason why this lake is up here, because the geology of Mauna Kea kind of means that most of the landscape is very porous. It's like all volcanic rock and stuff. So it's kind of weird that there's just this body of water up here at the summit. But it's suggested that possibly it's permafrost from the ice age that's just kind of slowly melting, and this is kind of everything that's left over because of it. There's also other speculations that maybe there's like some compacted volcanic ash at the bottom, and that kind of keeps everything from leaking out. But regardless, happy that it's here. Happy that we're able to get here to get this shot. Culturally, in Native Hawaiian culture, Lake Waiau is named after one of the snow goddesses of Mauna Kea, Waiau, and it's considered a very, very sacred space for Native Hawaiians because of its close proximity to the heavens as well as the earth. It's considered the piko, or the umbilical cord, and it's that connection between the spiritual realm and the earth realm. Back in the days of old Hawaii, it was used as a cultural and spiritual site for people to visit, and people, I mean special people, like the religious leaders like the kahuna, as well as the ali'i and the chiefs. In fact, there's a famous story of Queen Emma, who took a bath in Lake Waiau before she became queen, in order to kind of prove her spiritual connection to her people before, of course, leading her people. And even to this day, there are still ceremonies that are held up here at the lake. But very, very sacred site, and I think part of the history and how sacred it is, being Native Hawaiian myself, it's definitely a bucket shot that I have envisioned and look forward to photographing, just because of how special this location is to our people. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but there is another goddess of snow, and her name is Poliahu. And Poliahu is the more major snow goddess here in the Hawaiian Islands, and of course her domain is the summit of Mauna Kea. And the story of Poliahu goes, her favorite activity was sledding, or what was called holua, which was basically taking a sled and sliding down the slopes of Mauna Kea down towards the Hamakua coast. And Pele, the fire goddess, we've photographed her many a time. Pele once challenged Poliahu to a race. So the two of them started up here on Mauna Kea. They headed down. Poliahu, of course, this is kind of her sport, so she went ahead of Pele, and because Pele has a temper, obviously didn't want to lose, she let her temper get the best of her and started using her powers. Volcanoes just started erupting, lava started flowing, just to try and get in the way of Poliahu to give Pele the advantage. Now, this conflict escalated to an all-out battle between the two goddesses. Poliahu retreated back up here to the summit of Mauna Kea and battled Pele, snow versus lava, fire versus ice, and eventually sent Pele all the way back to the southern part of the island, where she currently resides at Kilauea. Now, back in the old Hawaiian days, they used this story to kind of justify why the volcanic eruptions only occur in the southern portion of the Big Island. Pretty much up here on the northern side of the island, it's pretty much eruption free. But scientifically, nowadays we know that it's because our islands are moving in a northwesterly direction, up the tectonic plate over the tectonic hotspot. In fact, there is an island brewing just south of the Big Island called Loihi, which won't surface in multiple lifetimes. But that's kind of the science behind why eruptions only occur on this end of the island. It's interesting that like when these storms roll around, there is still snow that dumps on Mauna Loa. And if you remember, Pele, most recently back a couple of years, Pele put on a show and erupted at Mauna Loa. So the battle between the two goddesses still continues to this day. So like I mentioned previously in our introduction, sorry if I'm a little short of breath, it's like very difficult to walk around up here and talk too. Gotta try and save the oxygen. But a lot of things had to come together in order for this shot to occur. Number one, it had to have been Milky Way season, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but the last time we visited this lake was during July. Milky Way was super high up in the sky. Didn't really like that composition, so I needed the Milky Way nice and low on the horizon. So that's why we're here like in February, early Milky Way season. Number two is it had to have snowed here up in Mauna Kea, and snow up here in Mauna Kea only occurs during the winter months, and occasionally we might be, if we're lucky, we might be able to get a March or an April storm that rolls around and drops some snow. In fact, I was able to photograph one of these storms on our solo trip that we were doing to photograph the Waiau, but that's never here nor there. But yeah, usually winter months, the storms do roll in, they dump some snow on top of Mauna Kea, and then we're able to get a shot like this. And those two things, like the snow and the Milky Way, had aligned and line up perfectly in terms of timing. And December, January time, yes, it can snow, but that's not Milky Way season, so those 2 months were kind of rolled off of the books. And it's kind of rare if we get a March or April storm that dumps this much snow. So obviously, February was the most optimal time to visit the lake, and yeah, here we are getting this shot. And the last thing that has to occur in order for us to get this shot is the road up here to the summit of Mauna Kea has to be open. Usually the snow will dump and it'll take crew members a couple of days to clear out the road. So I was eagerly checking UH Hilo's website and driving up here just to check to see if the status of the road was open. And yesterday was actually the first full day that the road was open. So that's why we are here today, because it's our first night that we're able to possibly get this shot. And man, is it paying off. I'm so happy that all these things ended up lining up just so perfectly to get this shot. And I kind of got lucky in terms of shooting, being here at the right place at the right time, because I had booked this Big Island trip a couple of weeks in advance. I wasn't really expecting to be here just for the snow, Lake Waiau, and Milky Way. I was kind of, again, just coming up here for wildlife, but the timing ended up working out. But I've always had this shot in the back of my mind, and timing timing just happened to line up perfectly with my trips. If you're unaware, I'm not a resident of the Big Island, so I do have to fly in and make travel plans to coordinate all of these shoots. And I was just lucky this time that things worked out in our favor and the timing lined up with everything. But let's pretend for an instant I was back home on Oahu, just sitting there, wasn't really doing a whole lot, or I wasn't thinking about coming to the Big Island. One of the apps that I would use to try and get this shot, and one of the most important apps that I would use to get this particular shot, is an app called Windy. And I'll put some kind of screen recordings up here. And as soon as you open it up, you can see, there's a map overlay, and there's a lot of functionality to this app. You can look at, of course, wind speeds, hence the name, rain, cloud cover, tides, thunderstorms, wave heights, and it's a lot. It's very, very complex. Well, it's simple to use, I guess, but it has a lot of features and it's quite overwhelming. But one of the key features that I would use to get this particular shot is the notification function. And what that allows you to do is select a location like Lake Waiau and prompt the app to notify you if certain weather conditions are forecasted to happen. So I prompted the app to notify me whenever Lake Waiau has the possibility of getting any amount of snowfall. And that way, if I was sitting at home back on Oahu and I saw that a storm was rolling around and I got the notification from the Windy app, that would be a sign to start looking at flights, start booking things, because again, the possibility of snow being up here and the road opening and all that kind of stuff, there's definitely that possibility. But thankfully, didn't have to do anything and rush last minute. This all kind of worked out in our favor, and I'm very, very happy that it did. Even though it's low, still technically low, this core is getting pretty high up in my composition. I didn't think it would get up that high, but as you can see, we're not gonna have a whole lot of time more to shoot with Lake Waiau, or at least the Milky Way. We got sunrise light coming in right now. But as long as I still feel okay, like right now I still feel pretty good, and no real crazy signs of altitude sickness. I wanted to see if I can grab a shot right before sunrise. I don't know what's gotten into me lately, but I've been really digging the earth shadow shots when you're at the summit of one of these big mountain peaks. We shot one in Maui before, and we're gonna come back to shoot that again, but we could totally do one here. On our way back up the trail back to the car, there's a spot that I should be able to stop and point the camera back towards the lake and be able to get a hopefully perfectly aligned little shadow of Mauna Kea paired with the lake. Fingers crossed, hopefully we'll be able to pull that one off. Surprisingly, the camera can still pick it up, but I think that's gonna be about it. It's about to get overpowered by that sunlight. Bucket shot complete. All right. Let's try not to die on the way back up. Oh my goodness. My tripod legs are frozen solid. Almost frozen solid. There's definitely some buildup. There we go. Hopefully it doesn't freeze like this. I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it for my next shoot. Whew. No doubt, hiking up here at altitude is never fun. Probably took like 5 breaks just coming up this little hill. But sun should be rising directly behind you, behind us, in about 40 minutes or so. So yeah, in about 30 minutes I would think. Or maybe it happens right at sunrise, but we should get the nice earth shadow forming. I hope the positioning is right. Thank you for not being too frozen solid. Whew. Yep. This is what it's all about. Starting to get a little bit of that glow. Unbelievable. I can't believe that we're here right now. Pretty epic view. Thank God. Now that the sun is rising, you can start to feel the air get a little bit warmer. My feet are probably the body part that's suffering the most, but my lips are also very dry. I can barely put together a full sentence because my face is like frozen solid. Ugh. But it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Oops. I forgot that because we are at altitude, the sun is going to rise faster than if we were at lower altitudes, but there's the sun. Oh man, beautiful. I'm overjoyed because that means our day is finally coming to an end up here. We don't quite have the shadow just yet, but it should happen relatively quickly now that the sun is up. Oh my goodness. There it is. It's a pretty decent position for this shot too. You kind of have that visual tension between the two. Yeah, check it out. Lake, shadow of Mauna Kea starting to form. Good stuff, good stuff. You know what, unfortunately, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get that right side. It's starting to come out a little bit, but it looks like off in the distance there's a lot of like clouds and haze, so that's definitely impacting I guess the nice formation that we would normally like for the Mauna shadow, but it's still beautiful nonetheless. The shadow's starting to fade now, so I think I'm gonna pack it up here. We'll see you guys back at the car. Whew. Good stuff. It's so cold that my water bottle started to form ice crystals. That's crazy. Whew. All right, well, Finally made it back to the car. Just gonna warm up for a little bit before we head back down. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and watching. Happy that I was able to get this bucket list item out of the way, so I don't have to come back and do this again. But hopefully this inspires you to chase your own bucket list shots, and hopefully you got a little bit of insight into my planning process when it comes to Milky Way weather, and hopefully you can utilize that Windy app to plan your own shoots that are weather dependent going forward. But I can't even talk, it's so cold. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that like button, comment below, subscribe if you aren't already. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.